There are stories that shock you, and then there are stories that haunt you. This one does both. Picture this. A rising star adored by millions, a young girl full of dreams, and a secret connection that spiraled into something no one saw coming. Behind the fame, the filters, and the flashing lights was a darkness no one wanted to believe. Because when someone like D4VD smiles for the cameras, we think we know him. But what if that smile was hiding a truth so twisted it would change everything? Tonight, we're not just uncovering a case. We're peeling back the mask of a man who might have been lying to everyone, including himself. This is the story of D4VD and Celeste Rivas, and the chilling secrets buried between fame and fear. It all started with a discovery that no one could have imagined. A moment that would send shockwaves through social media, the music world, and a grieving family that had been searching for answers for months. In the early days of September, authorities were called to an impound lot in Hollywood Hills, responding to complaints about a foul odor coming from a parked vehicle. That vehicle wasn't just any car. It was a sleek Tesla, registered to none other than David Anthony Burke, known to millions of fans as D4VD, a young music sensation whose career had skyrocketed in just a few short years. But what they found inside changed everything. The body of a teenage girl, later identified as 16-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, was discovered in the trunk. She had been missing for weeks. The news spread faster than wildfire. The glamorous world of fame suddenly collided with a chilling reality, and everyone wanted to know the same thing. How did this happen, and what was D4VD hiding? The story hit the internet like a bomb. At first it seemed unreal, a rumor, another internet hoax. But within hours, credible sources confirmed it. Police reports, statements, and leaked photos began circulating. Fans who had idolized the singer were left in disbelief, trying to reconcile the artist who sang about love, pain, and innocence with the man whose car had become a crime scene. The headlines were merciless. Body found in music star's vehicle. Pop sensation under scrutiny. Who was Celeste Rivas Hernandez? Every corner of the internet, from fan forums to mainstream news outlets, was flooded with speculation. People were shocked not only by the discovery, but by what it implied. Why was a missing teenager in his car? Where had he been during those weeks? And perhaps most hauntingly, why wasn't he saying anything? While police began their investigation, fans and critics alike dug into the past. Celeste's name wasn't new to authorities. She had been reported missing 3 times earlier that year, each disappearance stranger than the last. Every time she returned home, her story changed, and every time the worry in her family's eyes grew deeper. Her mother's pleas, shared on social media, begged for her safe return, unaware that the final time she disappeared, she would never come back. What nobody realized was that during these absences, Celeste was living in a world far removed from the safety of her home. She was connected to people much older, involved in environments that no teenager should ever be near. Somewhere in that secret world, her path crossed with D4VD. The connection between Celeste and David was, at first, murky. Some claimed she was a fan who met him after a show. Others said they had been secretly involved, pointing to subtle clues on social media, likes, follows, and cryptic posts that now carried eerie significance. A photo that once seemed harmless now looked suspicious. A lyric that once sounded poetic now felt like a confession. In an industry where every word and image can be dissected, the pieces began to fit together in a way that terrified the public. Some fans insisted the connection was innocent, that David was being framed or misunderstood. But others were convinced there was something far darker beneath the surface. As the investigation deepened, more unsettling details surfaced. Celeste had multiple fake IDs, reportedly used to appear older and gain access to places and events far beyond her age. There were rumors she traveled under false names, sometimes seen in places where D4VD was performing. It was as if two stories, hers and his, were running parallel, hidden from the public eye, until tragedy forced them together. Police obtained search warrants, seizing electronics and devices connected to D4VD's residence, hoping to find a digital trail that could explain what really happened. Meanwhile, his silence became deafening. His social media went dark, his concerts were cancelled, and his management released only a brief statement offering condolences to the Rivas family and full cooperation with the authorities. But to the public, it didn't feel like enough. As details leaked, the narrative grew more complex. Witnesses claimed to have seen a girl matching Celeste's description in the company of someone who looked like D4VD weeks before her disappearance. Fans found archived live streams where she allegedly mentioned him by name, sometimes referring to him as my friend or my protector. There were also reports of her being spotted at venues tied to his performances, wearing merch that seemed personalized. Whether it was admiration, obsession, or manipulation, something bound them together. For Celeste's family, the discovery shattered them. Their missing daughter wasn't just another runaway. She was gone for good. The finality of it was too much to bear. Her sister spoke publicly, denying rumors of a close relationship between Celeste and the singer, insisting the family had no idea who he was until the story broke. The contrast between their pain and his silence drew an invisible line, one side crying for truth, the other hiding behind legal walls and carefully chosen words. The internet, however, had no patience for silence. Videos surfaced analyzing everything about D4VD, his past interviews, his lyrics, even his tattoos. Theories spread like wildfire. The shh tattoo on Celeste's finger was mirrored by one D4VD had on his. Some said it was a coincidence. Others said it was a sign of something deeper. Hashtags calling for justice flooded timelines. Some fans burned his posters. Others defended him passionately, arguing that no one had been charged, that the media was twisting facts for views. The tension between grief and fandom became a war zone. While investigators continued to piece together the timeline, the image of that Tesla became a symbol. To some, it was a literal coffin of silence. To others, it was evidence of negligence, deceit, or something worse. Every hour seemed to bring a new revelation, a new rumor, or a new voice demanding answers. Through it all, the one person who could have spoken the truth remained quiet. D4VD's reputation, once spotless and full of promise, now stood on the edge of collapse. He had built a career on emotion and vulnerability, but now the world questioned if his art was honesty or performance masking guilt. Behind the scenes, law enforcement combed through data, tracing phone records, text messages, and travel logs. They were trying to reconstruct the final days before Celeste disappeared for the last time. Every timestamp, every digital footprint could hold the truth of what really happened. But the deeper they dug, the more contradictions they found. There were gaps in communication, unexplained locations, and overlapping stories that didn't quite fit. Somewhere within those inconsistencies lay the reality that no one wanted to confront. What began as the shocking discovery of a body had now evolved into a full-blown media storm, fueled by suspicion and heartbreak. The connection between a young rising artist and a lost teenage girl had become a mirror, reflecting the darkness of fame, the fragility of innocence, and the way the truth can hide in plain sight. The case wasn't just about a death, it was about lies, secrets, and the dangerous intersection where two worlds collided under the illusion of trust and glamour. The story of Celeste and David only grew darker when the timeline of her disappearances began to unfold in chilling detail. What appeared to be a troubled teenager running away from home was something far more complex, a pattern of calculated escapes, secret communication, and carefully hidden truths. Celeste had been reported missing 3 times in just 1 year, and each time she vanished, she seemed to drift further from the world that had once kept her safe. There were nights when her phone went silent for days, times when friends said she was off the grid, and rumors that she was traveling with someone who wasn't from her small California town. Each return home was shorter, colder, and more distant, as if she was slowly fading from the life she knew. Family members noticed the subtle changes, the way she avoided eye contact, the way she flinched when asked about where she'd been. They assumed she was rebelling, trying to escape the usual teenage boundaries, but the truth was far more disturbing. Police reports revealed that every disappearance followed a strange pattern: late-night phone calls, deleted messages, and sometimes new clothes she couldn't explain. Her family didn't realize it then, but someone was guiding her from the shadows, someone who had her trust completely. It was around that time that Celeste's online presence began to shift. Her posts became cryptic, filled with song lyrics, hidden meanings, and coded emojis. She would vanish from her usual accounts only to resurface on private profiles where she interacted with a small circle of people, one of whom, investigators later suspected, was connected to David Burke. Her friends recalled her mentioning a friend in the music industry, someone older who understood her and promised to help her escape what she called a toxic place. At first, no one thought much of it. Teenagers often romanticize freedom, but after her final disappearance, those vague mentions became clues to a relationship that was anything but innocent. The trail of deception didn't end with social media. Celeste had multiple fake IDs, each bearing a different name, but the same haunting photo: a girl trying to look older than she was. With these, she could enter venues meant for adults, attend concerts, and even book hotel rooms. Surveillance footage reportedly showed her checking into places miles away from her home, always alone, always cautious. Investigators believe these fake identities were part of a larger web, possibly provided or encouraged by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The question was, who gave her access to them? And what did they gain from her silence? Meanwhile, David's timeline began to overlap disturbingly with hers. Tour dates matched the dates of her disappearances. Posts from fans placed him in locations that aligned with where she was last seen. In some leaked text exchanges circulating online, a person believed to be Celeste mentioned being on the road, using language that suggested she was traveling with someone close to the music scene. The same period coincided with D4VD's rise to fame, a young artist whose emotional songs captured loneliness and love. For many, the parallels between his lyrics and her story were impossible to ignore. Lines about forbidden love, guilt, and losing control suddenly sounded like diary entries rather than art. As law enforcement worked to piece together the missing fragments of her timeline, they also turned their attention to David's movements. A search warrant executed at a property tied to him revealed electronics and documents that might hold digital evidence, messages, photos, and geolocation data that could link him directly to Celeste's final days. Police confirmed that her body had been in his Tesla for several weeks before discovery, suggesting that someone had deliberately hidden her there. Whether out of fear, guilt, or something more sinister, that act alone turned an artist's reputation into a mystery of lies and silence. David's public reaction only fueled speculation. Within hours of the news breaking, he deleted or archived much of his social media content. His team released a brief statement. He was devastated, cooperating fully, and asked for privacy. But for the public, that wasn't enough. The silence felt like evasion. People wanted clarity, a confession, or at least a sign of remorse. Instead, there was nothing but distance and legal counsel. The hiring of a high-profile attorney known for handling controversial cases only deepened suspicion. Why would someone who claimed innocence need such heavy defense so early on? Online, the conversation took on a life of its own. Amateur investigators combed through years of posts, dissecting every lyric, interview, and photo. They noticed references to a girl named C in old tweets, the use of water and drowning imagery in his music videos, and recurring symbols, like a whispering gesture, that matched tattoos seen on both him and Celeste. Some called it coincidence. Others called it a pattern of guilt hidden in plain sight. Conspiracy theories spread faster than facts, blurring the line between truth and imagination. While rumors dominated social media, the real investigation pressed on behind closed doors. Detectives were methodically mapping every communication between Celeste and David. Forensic teams were examining the Tesla, combing it for DNA, fingerprints, or digital traces from onboard systems. Even though no official charges were filed, insiders hinted that evidence was substantial, but not yet conclusive enough to declare intent or cause of death. The coroner's report remained sealed, adding to the tension. Every unanswered question gave birth to another theory. As the investigation continued, new details emerged about the days before Celeste disappeared for the last time. Friends said she had been nervous, constantly checking her phone and avoiding conversations. She told one person she was going away for a while and that someone was picking her up. That was the last anyone heard from her. Days later, her phone stopped pinging cell towers altogether. The next trace of her came months later, lifeless in the trunk of a celebrity's car. In the midst of chaos, David's fan base was torn apart. Some stood by him, insisting he was a victim of circumstance, arguing that fame made him an easy target. Others turned on him completely, calling for accountability and justice for Celeste. Petitions were launched, hashtags trended, and even radio stations pulled his songs from rotation. The case had become more than an investigation. It was a cultural reckoning, exposing how fame can shield people from scrutiny until tragedy forces the truth into the light. Meanwhile, Celeste's family lived in an agonizing limbo. They weren't just grieving their daughter's death. They were fighting to understand how it happened, how a man adored by millions could somehow be entangled in her disappearance. They demanded transparency, pressing authorities for updates while battling misinformation online. Each new rumor hurt more than the last. Their pain became public, their daughter's memory caught between fandom and fury. The investigation reached a critical point when police confirmed that they had seized encrypted devices and were working to unlock them. Those devices, they said, might hold the key to understanding Celeste's final communications, who she was with, what promises were made, and what really led her into that car. For now, the truth remained buried beneath layers of deleted messages and half-truths, a digital maze designed to protect someone's secret. The timeline of lies and the investigation that followed revealed more than just a connection between a celebrity and a missing teen. It exposed the dark underbelly of modern fame, the way influence and access can blur moral boundaries, how perception can become protection, and how silence can be louder than guilt. The closer investigators came to uncovering the truth, the more the world began to realize that this wasn't just about one artist and one girl. It was about the fragile space between innocence and manipulation, about the cost of secrets kept too long, and the way truth eventually finds a way to surface. No matter how deeply it's buried, rumors spread faster than wildfire, especially when they involve fame, tragedy, and unanswered questions. What began as isolated whispers soon turned into a social media storm. Fans started digging through D4VD's past lyrics, dissecting every line, searching for hidden meanings or dark confessions. Some claimed he'd written songs that eerily mirrored Celeste's life and disappearance, suggesting he was using his music as a coded message. On TikTok, creators posted videos with slowed-down clips of his interviews, highlighting nervous gestures, shifting eyes, or awkward silences, saying they were signs of guilt. Hashtags like Justice for Celeste and on D4VD Truth trended for days, and forums filled with speculation about the real relationship between the artist and the victim. His tattoos became a focus of obsession. One in particular, a small symbol on his wrist, matched a design seen on Celeste's sketchbook from months before her death. Fans wondered if it was a coincidence or something much darker. Online detectives unearthed old Instagram posts of D4VD with cryptic captions like "Some secrets are meant to drown," and "She wanted to disappear." These words, once seen as poetic, suddenly took on an ominous tone in light of the case. Others found that he had deleted several posts around the time Celeste went missing, fueling theories that he was erasing evidence. Every deleted picture, every new lyric, every public appearance was now under scrutiny. Even his music videos were re-examined. A scene with an underwater shot was linked to the lake where Celeste's belongings were found. Was it art imitating life, or was life exposing art? The line blurred as people demanded answers, and yet D4VD remained silent. His management refused to comment, citing legal reasons, which only made the world hungrier for the truth. The police continued their investigation, raiding multiple properties linked to D4VD's inner circle. They seized computers, hard drives, and studio equipment, hoping to trace communication between him and Celeste. Text messages leaked to the media showed a close but confusing relationship, affectionate at times, manipulative at others. Some messages hinted at control, with D4VD reportedly telling her to stay off social media and not to trust her friends. Others revealed moments of vulnerability, where he described being haunted by the things he's done. But none of it was enough to form a clear picture. Every clue contradicted the last, and every revelation opened more questions than it answered. Witnesses came forward claiming they'd seen them together days before her disappearance, yet others insisted they hadn't spoken in months. Truth and fiction became impossible to separate. Meanwhile, Celeste's family lived a nightmare that never ended. Her mother appeared on national television, clutching her daughter's photo, begging for honesty. "All I want is for someone to tell me what really happened," she said through tears. That moment broke millions of hearts, but D4VD's silence only deepened the divide. To some, he was a murderer hiding behind fame. To others, he was an artist wrongly accused, destroyed by online hysteria. The truth seemed buried beneath layers of gossip, fear, and media manipulation. Yet as investigators continued digging, one thing became clear. Not everyone around D4VD was loyal. One of his closest collaborators turned informant, revealing that the artist had grown paranoid, convinced his phone was being tracked, and his every move watched. He told them, "If they find out what really happened, I'm done." Those words became the headline everywhere. If they find out what really happened, the web of rumors turned the case into a cultural obsession. True crime. YouTubers uploaded hour-long videos connecting the dots between his lyrics, his art, and Celeste's death. Reddit threads analyzed his interviews frame by frame. Fans even organized digital protests demanding his arrest, while others defended him with hashtags like #StandWithD4VD, arguing that society was crucifying an innocent man without proof. As the media circus grew, law enforcement warned that the spread of misinformation was harming the investigation, but it was too late. The story had taken on a life of its own. Every rumor, every alleged insider leak became part of a growing myth that blurred the edges of reality. People wanted a villain, and D4VD fit the role too perfectly. Weeks later, the police held a press conference. They revealed that while evidence pointed to deception, nothing directly linked D4VD to Celeste's death. Yet the silence that followed said more than any statement could. He didn't show up. He didn't release a video, a song, or even a note to his fans. His social media vanished overnight, wiped clean. It was as if he disappeared completely, No public appearances, no concerts, no explanations. Some said he'd fled the country. Others believed he was under protection, preparing for trial. A few even theorized that he wasn't alive anymore. Whatever the truth, the story of David and Celeste had become something larger than the people involved. A reflection of fame, secrecy, and the human hunger for drama. The unanswered truth still echoes. Celeste's family continues to fight for justice, holding vigils and sharing her art to keep her memory alive. Her final painting, discovered weeks later, depicted two figures standing in the dark, one holding a mask. Underneath a single phrase, "Everyone wears one." To many, that painting was her final message. A haunting reminder that appearances deceive, that the people we idolize often hide the darkest parts of themselves. Whether D4VD was guilty or innocent no longer seemed to matter. What mattered was the story that had captured millions, forcing everyone to question what they believe about truth, fame, and manipulation. And in the end, one question remained unanswered. Was D4VD lying to everyone? Or had the world just believed the lie it wanted to hear? From the perfect image of a celebrity to the fractured reality behind closed doors, this case exposed the cracks between truth and illusion. We saw how a young artist's fame became the perfect cover for secrets, how lies layered themselves so carefully that even those closest to him couldn't see the truth. Celeste's story reminded the world that monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they stand in the spotlight. Every message, every lyric, every look told a story that none of us were ready to hear. The police found fragments of deception, but the full truth, it remains buried in deleted messages, missing evidence, and the silence of a man who once had everything. The D4VD Celeste Rivas case isn't just a mystery. It's a reflection of how fame blinds us, how easily we mistake charisma for innocence, and how far people will go to protect an image built on lies. The truth is still out there, hidden behind the fame, the fear, and the lies. What do you believe? Drop your thoughts, theories, and suggestions in the comments below. Let's hear what you think really happened in the D4VD Celeste Rivas case. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories that the world needs to hear.